So there are many people who believe that we in the United States are facing a crisis, fundamental crisis in governance. And the question we want to ask in this conference is whether the framers' constitutional convention is a strategy for dealing with these fundamental questions of governance. My own view is that there are many misunderstandings about the convention, and so I'm hopeful in this conference we might be able to address some of those misunderstandings. My own view is that Washington has become corrupted, not in the traditional sense of Rod Blagojevich and bribery, but instead in a much more open and fundamental sense that members of Congress spend wildly too much of their time raising special interest dollars to fund their campaigns, and they become too focused and tuned on special interests and the status quo and not on what the people want. So my view is that we need a change that dislodges this current system of corruption and puts in its place one that allows members to be independent enough to think about what their constituents want. And I don't think we're going to get that kind of change without something like a convention. Well, in fact, we've never had an Article 5 convention. Our Constitution itself was the product of a convention, but not inside of our Constitution. It was the convention that gave birth to the Constitution. We came close with the amendment that eventually allowed senators to be elected. But I think the reason why we've never had one is that whenever we've gotten close to a convention, Congress has read the writing on the wall and brought about the very change that the convention has been pushing for. And that's partly my hope here. If we get enough states to back the idea of a constitutional convention, then it will make it much harder for Congress to ignore this issue, and maybe we'll actually get the kind of change that we need from Congress to bring about the change that I think the system requires. So I've never been sure what exactly a runaway convention means. I mean, where is it running to? What's it doing, right? All that a convention can do is propose amendments and ask Congress to send those amendments to the states to be ratified. And if the Congress creates a convention and says that you're supposed to consider just issues about the budget or just issues about the way we fund campaigns, and that convention considers other issues, then the very fact the convention has broken the rules for its own establishment would weaken the political strength of whatever it did. So my view is if a convention breaks the rules and a convention does things that it's not supposed to do, then the fact that it has broken the rules or exceeded its authority would weaken the compellingness of whatever proposals it comes up with. But if, on the other hand, it breaks the rules and the proposals it comes up with are still so compelling that three-fourths of the United States, three-fourths of the states in the United States actually want to ratify it, then more power to them. Because if it's three-fourths want to ratify it, it's got to be a wildly compelling set of proposals that they've come up with. So remembering that all a convention does is propose amendments, I really don't care if they run away. Right now we have a Congress that can propose amendments, and I think I would trust a convention more than I would trust the product of this Congress. I think especially non-elected Americans with strong fundamental differences can work together. Because I think that what motivates people who are not within the system is a genuine belief about, a genuine love for this country and a belief that this country needs fundamental reform. And we have a long tradition of people with those views working together. I think we tend to forget that the framers of our Constitution were not guys who believed in the same thing. There was real difference back then. There were people in that convention who believed in slavery, and there were people in that convention who believed that people who held slaves were deeply evil, fundamentally corrupt, and destroying the nation. But they were able to put that fundamental difference aside enough to frame a constitution that would eventually allow us to get over slavery. Now, whatever the differences are that I have with the Tea Party, they're nowhere remotely as profound as those differences were. And I think that we can demonstrate in this process how people with differences can talk and work together and actually do it much better than our existing political system does.